Hello, everybody. Adam Bergman here, tax attorney and founder of IRA Financial. And on today's video, which I'm doing live, this is a super important topic that is not getting way enough attention. It's crazy. We're in November, and there are going to be massive new rules based off the Corporate Transparency Act that was actually passed all the way back in 2021. And people kind of just forgot about it, said, hey, eventually maybe Treasury, maybe the government will just kick it down the road. I doubt it's going to happen. Maybe it will, but I'm not going to worry about it because it's in the future. Well, the future is here in 60 days or less. So I wanted to do a video today. I've done a blog. I definitely should be spending more time, which I will do, I promise, on this new set of FinCEN rules that will impact LLCs, corporations, whether you own them personally, and even if you own them in an IRA or 401k, especially if you use a self-directed IRA LLC. These are massive changes coming. The good news is, as always, IRA Financial will be here to help you stay in compliant with FinCEN and actually take and handle all FinCEN responsibilities. So what's the Corporate Transparency Act? Essentially what it is, it's an act where the government wants to get more information on private businesses, especially small businesses. And we'll get to the exempted list of which type of entities, LLCs, corps, partnership, S-corps, do not have to register and disclose who their beneficial ownership interest. But at its core, the Corporate Transparency Act is a way for the government to get more data information about who are the actual beneficial owners, but not necessarily just the owners, who has control over the operations of the entity. Why? Their first reason is Homeland Security. We want to make sure we know who owns this stuff, right? Are they terrorist organizations, foreign countries? They're trying to use U.S. entities to get closer and more access to U.S. companies, U.S. information, data, and the like. And second, it's money laundering, right? There's obviously a lot of money laundering. It's not just Americans that set up bank accounts overseas in Switzerland or Panama. Money laundering goes the other way, where there's foreign folks in jurisdictions, maybe it's Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, that want their money in the United States for good reason, right? We live in the greatest country in the world. And there's a reason 2 million people flow through our southern border. They're also trying to come in here and keep their money safe because we have the strongest and most secure financial system. So since 9/11, Homeland Security, the U.S. government has been focused on this. You may have seen Netflix series on Panama Papers, money laundering, and there's obviously even a lot of discussion and reports that foreign terrorists have used the U.S. financial systems to operate and fund their terrorist operations that target our allies and Americans. So they want to stop that. And I think their intentions are good. I just can't believe more people aren't on the Corporate Transparency Act because I don't know if it's a stretch or an overreach. I mean, the government has the authority to do this. Some other countries do this. But this is massive. And there's a lot of libertarians, privacy individuals out there that for some reason are not thinking about the Corporate Transparency Act. So hopefully this video will awaken them. FinCEN estimates there's almost 33 million reporting companies in the United States. 33 million. And they expect every year, starting in 2024 and beyond, add 5 million more companies to that list. Okay, so do the math in 10 years. It's another 50 million. You're looking at 82, 83 million of reportable companies around there, right? Companies do close, but a lot of companies. So what's going on here? Okay, the government wants to know who owns these companies for the reasons I suggested. So how does that impact your IRA, right? Who cares, right? Your IRA owns it. What does the government care? Well, we're going to see through the exemptions. If an IRA owns an LLC, even though the IRA is exempted and it should not have to report its ownership, the problem is the individual, the manager, has control over the entity. And because the individual has control over the entity, it's deemed a reportable company. And therefore, someone has to disclose the beneficial ownership interest to the FinCEN, which is linked to Treasury. And that's where IRA Financial come in. And that's why this is such a monstrous, massive area, which will add a lot more scrutiny to all of us and keep the government in our business even more because of the enormous amount of data they have. Now, some commentators, including myself, are like, hey, IRS, federal government, you have all this info. If you really want to know who owns something, you can audit them, right? You have the ability to audit any company, and you can ask, hey, who owns XYZ LLC? Give me your beneficial ownership list. But they're basically saying, well, we don't want to do that, so we're just going to force you to give us all this info. The funny thing is there's only 400 or so employees of FinCEN. So I have no idea how the heck they're going to do this. In 2025, there'll be around 35 million companies, if not more, they're going to have to report. I don't know what they're going to do with this data, but they're going to figure it out. So let's talk about who has to report. Okay, let's get to the fun stuff. Who has to report? Okay, so essentially there's two types of requirements on who needs to report. So you have to either have substantial control over a company, or you need to own or control at least 25% of the company. Okay, and we'll get to in a minute on who's not deemed a company. But for most of us, assuming you're a small business under 20 employees, under 5 million in revenue, and you're not a bank or a financial institution or a tax exempt, you're probably gonna have to file this. Yeah, that means your consulting business, your legal practice, your dental practice, your bar, your restaurant, your real estate project, your investment project, right? You see what I'm talking about. 35 million entities are reportable entities. No one's talking about this. You're not gonna see, I didn't see anything in the Wall Street Journal. I haven't seen anything in really any major publication. Maybe they're focused on world events. There's definitely crazy stuff going on in the world. We have political issues in the United States, an election coming up, but no one's talking about this. This is going to impact 35 million companies and 5 billion more every year. No one's talking about this. This is a huge, huge reach by the government, and they're getting away with it. So what do we have to do since we're not going to be able to fight the government? Now, I do think there could be some litigation in terms of whether the government is exceeding their scope, but I think that will be unsuccessful because I think they do have the authority and the ability to request this information, even though they technically have it at their fingertips. They just need to find it. So again, two requirements. And let's talk about the first one, substantial control. What does that mean? So any individual who, and again, they're looking for individuals here. It's not companies. They want people's names, right? The whole idea is they want you to go through your company and find out who the actual individuals are. Why? Because they're after individuals, right? Individuals is the front lines, right? You can always keep going through companies. I can have a chain of 15 companies, right? Company 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Ultimately, who the hell owns it? Because we need to find out who controls the money. So who's a beneficial ownership interest? Who is reportable? Two things. You got to have substantial control, okay? You have substantial control in 4 ways. Senior officer, like the CEO, general counsel, COO, right? You wouldn't think if you're the general counsel, like, you'd have substantial control over the company. I don't know, but you're going to get reported on if you do. You have the authority to appoint or remove certain officers. You're an important decision maker, whatever that means, right? You can decide if you buy a coffee machine. Is that an important decision? I think it is, but maybe someone else doesn't. An individual has any other form of substantial control over the reporting company, as explained in further guidance by the FinCEN, which basically you have the authority to make decisions, big decisions on this company, or if you're an executive, okay? Then you become a reportable person. You have a beneficial ownership interest, even though you own 0% of the company. So if you have a company with 10 people and you have a CEO, a COO, CFO, general counsel, they're all technically reportable. Got to provide their names. Okay. Or if whoever owns 25% or more of the company. So if you have a small company, investment real estate company, or whatever, you sell widgets, 4 people own 25%, you got to report those people's names to the government. You didn't do anything wrong. The government's not saying you're going to get audited. The government's not saying you're going to jail. The government's not saying anything. They're just saying, give us the info. Okay. There's always at least one beneficial owner. Obviously, there can be more. And there's always a reportable person, unless you fit into an exclusion, right? So either someone owns more than 25%, or if no one owns, let's say there's 10 people who own 10%, someone's got to make decisions in this company. So you're always going to be reporting someone's name to the government. Now, who's excluded? Okay. Who's excluded? So there is a big list of exclusions. Unfortunately, most of us are not going to fit into any of them. So essentially, who's excluded? You have to be a company with 20 or more full-time employees, physical U.S. office, more than 5 million in gross receipts. So 20 and 5, it's not or. Tax-exempt entities like private foundations, inactive companies, some certain trusts, which are not created by filing with the state, like grantor trust, land trust. I think you'll see more people setting up grantor trusts and land trusts because they don't want to deal with this, even with the IRA. People that are subject to the 40 Act, like investment companies. But those are the main ones. Let me see what else, if there's anyone that's interesting that people may be able to get in. But those are the main ones that I think would at least would be available for exclusions. That's kind of it. So again, U.S. company, even if you're a foreign company, if you register to do business in the U.S., 25% or more shareholder, or anyone that has substantial control over the business, you have to report their name to FinCEN. Okay. When is this due? This is the fun stuff. Okay. Well, for new entities that begin in 2024, you have 90 days to report it. It used to be 30 days. They expanded it to 90. Starting in 25, and here's the kicker, starting in 25, every U.S. company that doesn't fit into an exclusion has to start reporting. So whether you set your company up in 2003, 23, 2001, 1972, 1999, if you don't satisfy an exclusion, you have to register. Okay? So who do you register? Well, you're going to have to get a FinCEN number, and you're going to have to do this in a timely manner. And if you don't, there's penalties, which we'll get to in a minute. So for an IRA Financial is going to provide the service starting in 2024 for all new entities. So within 90 days, we will report who has substantial control over the entity, generally the IRA owner's name, unless you have a 401k, solo K, or you set up a trust. But if you're doing the LLC, we're going to have to report with FinCEN. There's no exclusion. That's just the way it's going to be. But at least we'll provide that service. We'll keep you in compliance. If there's changes, let's say you add a manager, we'll have to update in a timely manner to FinCEN and provide them this information. They're not messing around. The government is not messing around here. Whether you agree with it or not, it's not going to matter. They ain't messing around, and we're going to have to provide this info. What info do we have to provide? Your name, date of birth, your address, passport number, a driver's license, something, social security number, something that identifies you. Okay. So they're going to want to find some info. What happens if you don't do this? Penalties, baby, $500 a day up to $10K. So some people might say, I don't care, I'll pay $10K. But here's the kicker. If they feel you're more than just negligent, they can throw you in jail for up to 2 years for failure to file a BOI report. Okay. So this is crazy, right? I promise you, I have some smart friends, whether they're rich or not rich, doesn't matter. My friends are smart. They're all either professionals. They all went to college. They all make money for the most part, or they did make money. And now they're relaxing. I asked, we were out for drinks last weekend with like 10 of my friends and their wives, spouses, and not one person ever heard of this. Okay. And, some work for big companies, law firms, accounting firms. Some have their own businesses. Not one person ever heard of this. And they're like, what are you talking about? I have to do this thing? And they all like, I saw them like all emailing their accountants, and the accountant's like, yeah, we're going to get you in the loop in this. Don't worry. Now, again, if you had an entity that you set up prior to 24, you're going to have an extra year. You're going to have to 2025. So don't freak out. You don't have to get this done by 90 days after 2024. The rule for 90 days after 2024 are only companies starting in 2024. So if you and your friend set up an LLC in January 24, you set up an IRA LLC in February 24, you have 90 days to file a report with FinCEN. Now, again, just to be clear, we're going to handle this for IRA LLC clients. So don't worry. We're going to take care of this. No stress. Who are excluded? Remember, large entities, 20 full-time people or more, with over 5 million in revenue, public companies, banks, securities brokers and dealers, insurance companies, RIAs, advisors, pooled investment companies, charities. So, some folks will get lucky, but most of us won't, right? Some may have businesses with more than 20 people and 5 million in revenue. Not all of us, but if you just have entities that you're just hanging around doing some real estate deals, some flips, investments, investing in small businesses, whatever, just like messing around, you're going to have to report to the FinCEN. Now, should you worry? Listen, we all report to the government every year. We all file tax returns, right? So the government can always find us, right? People can always find us. And I get this question a lot saying, well, I want to do, instead of the IRA LLC, I want to do a trust, or I want to do a 401k. If I have more than $250,000, I'm going to move it out of the 401k to set up another type of entity. I don't want to disclose. And I'm like, listen, if you file a 1040 tax return, which I hope you do, the IRS can find you if they want. It's just the bottom line. Now, you can play the audit risk, which is, depending on your income level, 0.2% to 1% if you're high net worth. But eventually, we're all going to get audited. If the government wants to nail you, they're going to find you, right? Some people bring up the fact that certain administrations will target their opposition, right? I'm involved with a charity that's controversial. I'm worried that the government will attack me. I don't know. I can't stop that. I don't know what goes on. All I know is if they want to attack you, they can find you, right? We saw witch hunts. We've seen this, right? Without getting political on both sides of the aisle. No party's immune to doing some bad things to their opponents. Just politics gets nasty. For every one of us, everyday folks like us, no one cares about us, right? That's what I tell my clients. I'm like, you think you're worried, and that's fair, and I respect that, but honestly, the government doesn't care about you. Could you get audited? Yeah. Do you have things to worry about? Sure, but unless you're doing something wrong, I would not stress out about this. I would not. Is it a pain? Yeah. Is it over the top? Yeah. Is it annoying? Yeah. Are the penalties crazy, going to jail for this stuff? Yeah. But that's what we got to do. We got to follow the rules. So the good news is we will help you. Okay. We will file this for your IRA LLC. We're also going to be doing this for all clients that set up LLCs prior to 2024. We'll be reaching out to make sure we have your blessing and all your information, because we'll be filing with FinCEN as well. We will use our FinCEN number. We will acquire a FinCEN number for your entity, and we will file it. Okay. So we will be putting our names next to you. So that's how much we love you. And, care and respect you is like, we're putting our name with your IRA LLC. We're the one that's going to be responsible for this FinCEN. And if you do get, any type of information request, like, we will be there on the front lines with you, because we'll be your FinCEN filer. So that's what we do. We step up, we take responsibility, and we want to be there with our clients, on the front line. So the big things to remember are the following. If you have a company you set up before January 1st, 2024, take a deep breath. You don't have to do anything until January 2025. Okay, so you can chill. If you think of setting up a business, it doesn't have to be an IRA business or an IRA entity, excuse me. You're setting up a business with friends, an investment company, you have to disclose within 90 days. You're going to have to get a FinCEN number, and you're going to have to report who the beneficial ownership is. So anyone that owns more than 25%, one or more, or zero, and then whoever has substantial control, one or more, right? If you have a CEO, CFO, COO, like there may be a bunch of people you have to disclose, which is going to get, interesting. The idea the FinCEN came up with is, they use this 20 and 5, 20 million revenue, 20 employees, 5 million in revenue as a way to kind of take out the big companies. But what we found, again, just doing a little bit of digging around, like if you're a terrorist organization or if you're a foreign country that like wants to steal our technology, you're probably going to be investing in bigger companies, more than 5 million in revenue. So I'm not sure. It seems like they claim they're going after like the bad guys and some money laundering, but I think the big money laundering, whether it's North Korea or some foreign jurisdictions or some bad terrorists, they're probably going to have more than 5 million in revenue in a company, but maybe not. So I just thought that was interesting. The employee thing I get, because if you're running a terrorist organization, you may not have a lot of U.S. employees. Although if a foreign country is looking to steal U.S. IP, the company may have more than 20 employees. So this way, the government's not going to find who the beneficial owners are or who has substantial control. So it's a little bit off. It's a big data dump. As I mentioned, you're looking at 36 million companies, 5 million. They estimate 5 million more each year. They're going to be eligible and not going to satisfy an exemption. So this is pretty massive. I'm shocked that more and more people are talking about this. This is going to impact, like I said, millions and millions of Americans. Not a big deal, right? But the fines are big, right? You just don't know about it, right? No one tells you about this, and you go about your business, and you haven't filed this thing for 3 years, and then suddenly someone contacts you and says, "Oh, you're going to jail," or you have to pay, $50,000 in fines for something that not a lot of people are aware of. Kind of scary. So that's why we decided, at least for our IRA clients, we do not want that happening to you guys. So we're going to take care of that for you. Will I see people going more into the 401k, or instead of an LLC, setting up a trust? I think so. I think that's possible. And we'll see where it goes. If you just do a full service IRA, so without the LLC, you're not going to have to file anything. So there may be a trend going back to that. Although a lot of clients do like the checkbook control. So we may see a movement into trusts. But there is a group of clients doing real estate that also want limited liability protection. And a trust doesn't offer limited liability protection. Only an LLC does, or a corporation. So it's going to be interesting. I promise, a lot more content on this. I'm just shocked that it hasn't been blown up more. I haven't seen a lot, as I mentioned, in the major publications, even online. I go to like some pretty deep and in-depth tax sites. This is not getting a lot of attention. And right, it's the American dream, right? We all want to start our own company. 5 million companies or so they estimate every year are going to be eligible for this. It's a lot of people, right? If you look at over 40 million reportable companies, there's 350 million people in the United States. People may have more than one, but it's a big chunk of people that are going to be impacted. I thought they were going to push this another year, but just yesterday they came out with data on how you can acquire your FinCEN number, and they keep saying, "Hey, January 1, 24, like this is on. It's going to happen." So I was expecting some delay. It doesn't look like it. And again, this came out in 21, so. They may say, well, you've had time to kind of familiarize yourself with this, but it's, we got other stuff. People aren't worried about this stuff, especially when you basically disclose this in 21 and set it up and say, well, it's not going to kick in for 3 years. No one's listening. I got a question. I think overreach, supporting a big blow to government. Yeah, it could be. I mean, listen, I don't like getting political. That's not my game. But yeah, I mean, you're definitely gonna have to hire more people to deal with this stuff. So I think government likes data. I think whoever's in power likes more government employees because they tend to vote for the party that put them in position to earn money. So do I love it? No. If I had to design this thing, I would figure out a way to go after the people that are directly related to this. The funny thing is that it's charities where a lot of these terrorist organizations are actually getting their money, right? They're setting up U.S. charities, getting people to make donations to U.S. charities, and then sending them overseas to do bad things. And charities are exempt. So I'm a little bit dubious to kind of understand what this is going after, except, hey, we just want more information on Americans. I think that's a fair statement. This way they'll get the information without having to audit millions and millions of more people. So I agree, Eddie, with your point. Does the trust give you check access? Yeah, if you set up a solo 401k but you need to be self-employed, right? Who sets up a solo K? You have to be self-employed, have a business with no full-time employees. You can just the owners basically and their spouses. So if I have a business, just me and my wife, and I have no full-time employees, no one works more than 1,000 hours during the year, 3 consecutive years of 500 hours or more, I can set up a solo K, get checkbook control, and never have to file the FinCEN. If I set up a trust, so instead of an LLC, and we've done this for certain clients, I was the first in the industry back in 2009, 2010, that let people use trusts instead of LLCs. We do it. You have to be careful because it's very state specific. Some states actually have tax reporting and taxes due on trusts that don't exist on LLCs. So there's a little bit more complexity, but people may be more willing to deal with that in light of the new Corporate Transparency Act. Does a grantor trust, which owns 100% of an LLC, owns real estate? That's not going to help you, Robert. So you'd have to have an IRA that is the grantor of the trust, and the trust owns the real estate. You're going to have to remove the LLC from the structure, because anytime the LLC or any corporation is in the structure, technically you're going to have to report. Even if your IRA owns less than 25%, whoever has substantial control will have to report. Or you can just do a regular IRA and skip the LLC or skip the trust, because in that sense, there will be no reporting since an IRA is exempt. It's only by use of the LLC of the corporation that creates this FinCEN responsibility under the Corporate Transparency Act by filing the individual's name as the beneficial ownership, as the manager of the entity. So it's the LLC and the corporation. The workaround, again, the solo K or a trust, or just using the IRA directly to make the investment. Some people may not care, right, Robert? Some people may say, big deal, file it. They can find out my name anyways. You give my name, right? When we file a 5498, they know who owns the IRA. So I don't know, Eddie may be right. It may be a great excuse to hire thousands of more people. With AI, I mean, they can comb this information pretty quickly, right? They can say, hey, we give us everyone that was born in these years that live in this area of Michigan, or give us anyone who's invested in LLC in this jurisdiction. Like, they have more data with AI. They can learn a lot. I'm not sure what they're going to do with it, but info is power, and the government definitely enjoys more power and more information at their disposal. So, we'll see how it plays out. It could always be paused in the future. I just don't know with 400 people what they're going to do with this information. It seems like they're not going to know what to do with it, especially with 36 million that have to file in 25 and then 5 million each year after. It's going to be a lot of data to look through. So we'll see. But I promise I'll do more videos over the next 5-6 weeks on this. I've just been shocked. The reason I haven't done more is I truly believed, not anymore, that they were going to push this at least another year. So starting in 25 and then push existings to 26. But just yesterday, they released FAQs and more data on how to actually get a FinCEN number. So that tells me they ain't messing around. And that's why I wanted to do the video today, to say, okay, hey, this is going to be on. I'm going to educate everyone, whether you have an IRA or not. Anyone that has an LLC or corporation, if they own more than 25% and or they have substantial control, they can make decisions for that entity. Their name's going on the government. Doesn't mean anything's going to happen, but the government's going to get your info. And if for some reason you just don't want to give it, $500 a day up to $10K and potentially 2 years in jail if they can prove gross negligence or fraud or some intent. I think they kept it there just to scare people. But hey, you can say, I was on vacation, I went away, no one told me about this, and my accountant died, and it's not in the newspapers. I don't get the newspaper in my house. I'm not on social media. Like, how the hell am I supposed to know this stuff? We'll see. I don't know. I think when you set up an entity, whoever's doing that for you is going to probably have to tell you this stuff, but they're under no legal obligation to do so. It's actually up to you, because they technically are not going to know who has substantial control or maybe who owns 25%. We will in the IRA world, so we will be there with you on the front lines and handle this for you so you can worry about doing fun things like investing your money and making a lot of money in your retirement account and not have to deal with the U.S. government and FinCEN. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it. I promise I'm going to do a lot more content over the next 50, 60 days on this thing. Don't get scared if you have an existing entity that you have set up prior to January 1, 2024. You have an extra year to relax and get organized. For all the IRA LLC clients, don't worry. We're going to help you with that and be in touch starting in 24, but getting you set up for this. But remember, this applies to not just IRAs. It applies to any business that has less than 20 employees, 5 million in revenue, that doesn't satisfy an exemption. It's not a bank, broker dealer, or charity, which covers 99% of people I know. So thank you. Again, don't get scared. Doesn't mean the government's going to knock on your door and just come after you, but it is a trend, and I agree with some of the comments here. I don't know if it's a disturbing trend, but it does show where the government's going. It will create more bloat, more money, more gaff. Is it necessary? I don't know. Listen, no one wants funding going to foreign terrorism. I certainly don't. I hope they can get all those bad people and lock them away and never let them come into this country. The other folks that are money laundering, I guess get them too. I'm just not sure what this is going to do if you only have 400 people reviewing the data. So I don't know. It's a start. It's a slippery slope. That would be my biggest fear, slippery slope, right? You start here. What else are you going to start asking for? We shall see. No to big government. Yeah, I agree. I love this country. I think we're better when we're leaner and we're just have more money in Americans' pockets, so they can invest it and save less in the government that doesn't know what to do with it. I read somewhere that they're spending for a bullet in Ukraine like $800 or something stupid like that. Russia spends like $6. Yeah, big governments aren't great, but when you're in government, you like big government, so kind of get all your buddies involved with you. So it is disturbing. That's why I love this industry, self-directed industry, because it allows you to take control over your retirement accounts. You can invest in things you know and trust. You don't have to leave your money in Wall Street and just pray it goes up. You take control over your future, which is what being American is, having the freedom and liberty to do what you want within the context of the law and taking control and responsibility for your future and your family. So I'm with you all you guys. I totally agree. Hopefully the government will do what's good with it and go after the bad folks. But I don't know. So stay connected. You should definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll get notified when I go live. I'm gonna do a lot more content on this. I've done a blog on this. I'll do more. I'll do also some podcasts. So I did a podcast on this actually a couple of weeks ago. I'll do more because the more and more people that are aware of this, the better, because you don't want to be stuck with monster penalties and having to defend yourself against jail time because no one told you about this. So the good news, again, for IRA clients, we got you. We're going to file this stuff for you, so no one's going to be knocking down your door, dragging you out of your bed, throwing you to jail. God forbid that our country ever gets to that. But hey, this is somewhat problematic. I do agree with you because they have all this info, right? If they want to know who owns ABC LLC, they can file a return. They can audit the 1065, or they can grab that info by the 1040. So if they just wanted to nail people who have Schedule Cs, they could have said, anyone who's a single member LLC, you have to report this. That would link the Schedule C to the government and make it easier to audit. They didn't do that, right? It's a lot more broad than that. So that tells me they have some other agendas that they're looking at that we may not be aware of. So thank you everyone for watching. Really appreciate it. Have an amazing rest of your day. See everyone soon. Thank you.